Well, welcome back to The Change Physician. I am your host, Dr. Melissa Cady. I feel so different because I usually have my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, which our schedules, it's always tricky to get three physician schedules to work perfectly together. But we have our returning guest, Dr. Colin Zhu, who is the chef doc. We've had the privilege to get to talk to him about his journey, his story. Definitely need to check out the other episodes. I'll put those in the show notes. But thank you so much for letting us talk to you again, or at least I get to talk to you again, and Kevin will have to watch the recording.
Is this the first time that he's missing, or either one of you
I
is missing?
think this is the first time I've done it myself. He's had to do one for me because I was stuck in the operating room. So it's my turn to take it for the team. So, but very much well enjoyed. So it's no big deal. But thank you so much. I'd love for us to do a little focus on kind of your specialty on when it comes to food and nutrition, or at least your deepest passion, it seems like, and maybe just talk about what things physicians can do in order to just live a healthier life and eat healthier. It's very
Yeah,
broad.
yeah.
Maybe a few strategies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, number one, thank you so much for having me again. Definitely will miss, Kevin. So I will say hi to Kevin and hi to everyone out there. I really appreciate you, having me on again. So for those of you who haven't seen me before, or heard of me, I'm Colin Zhu. I am an osteopath, and family physician by trade. And man, where do I start? So my focus is, even though my specialty is family medicine by trade, I dive deeper into food as medicine, lifestyle medicine. And the reason for that is my, like everyone else, similarly in terms of medical colleagues, is that, we weren't taught enough nutritional and lifestyle curricula. I think the most recent survey that I remembered was back in 2010, is where, only up to a quarter of our medical schools actually require nutrition as a course. And when I went to school, it was only about like 10 credit hours. It was mainly biochemistry. And so when I followed a lot of my predecessors' mentors, I realized that almost all of them had some sort of chronic lifestyle related component that affects us. Majority of our top 10 killers have died as a relation. And even back in JAMA, they said that diet was the number one cause of mortality, as it being a contributing factor, number one cause of disability. And the Lancet, what they quoted back in 2016 was, 1 out of 5 global deaths, diet was linked. And so for me, I had to dive deeper. I didn't want to just learn about nutrition. I wanted to learn about food. And so I enrolled myself into culinary school in between medical school and residency. And I got involved with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine when I was a medical resident. And then I took that education to publicly speak, hold demos, workshops, things like that. And so your question about, what are some strategies as busy professionals to incorporate food? So I teach from a whole foods plant-based, approach, not vegan. There are differences.
Mm-hmm.
I know the semantics can be very confusing
Yeah.
because there's vegetarianism, veganism, whole foods plant-based, and so I think definitions are in order. And whole food plant-based means that you are deriving your diet predominantly around whole foods. So we're talking about groups of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, beans, nuts, seeds, things like that. And very minimally, if possible, to avoid added oils, sugars, processed refined foods, things like that. And vegetarianism is, you could say it's plant-based, but they also, some of them eat eggs, some of them eat fish, some of them, and then veganism is also plant-based, but veganism has a component of, people go vegan because of ethical reasons, and, things of that nature as well. So those are my definitions. So just to kind of get people
Yeah.
oriented.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when it comes to, in line with that whole food plant-based diet, and say someone who's just, maybe away from the home a lot and busy or has kids, what are some little simple strategies that people can use to not only find the food that they should be getting, but maybe preparing it, or how to just, I guess convenience is a big thing for this society, but what are some things that are maybe some global strategies at kind of achieving a better diet?
Yeah, so it really depends on where you're at, right? So if we're just talking about ourselves as busy professionals, we have full-time jobs. If you are on call, it's, more than full-time hours, et cetera. And then also you got to be considerate of whether you're just, on your own, or if you have a family, right? So there's a lot of things, and I try to meet people where they're at. It's not a very black and white thing. So wherever you are in the spectrum, and I counsel this to my colleagues and my patients alike, is where, if I'm counseling someone that's a total carnivore to an extreme vegan, we can afford to eat more plants. There's really no downside to, eating more plants. And that's where I start the conversation. And
Mhm.
so, one of the things you need to do is kind of take a look at your kitchen. We're in a pandemic. It's been over a year now, and a lot of us are, getting, acquainted with our kitchen, or we're getting more acquainted with our kitchen.
Mhm.
And, that's, in my opinion, where the health starts, right? So, you have to look at several things. You have to look at your pantry. I call this the candy jar effect, where, if you see it in front of you, you're going to want to reach for it, right? You have a
Mhm.
candy jar on your desk. So a lot of things is you have to ideally maybe clean out your pantry, take a trash bag. There's probably a lot of stuff there that needs to go. And the same thing with your refrigerators and freezers. Depending on what type of refrigerator you have, sometimes we have the freezer box on top and then the fridge on the bottom. Um, Ideally, that's not the best refrigerators. And obviously, we can't swap refrigerator right now. That's okay. But the reason why I say that is because you kind of have to dip down and then, lower yourself in order to see what's in the back. And when things are, you can't see it, you're not going to know it's there. So it's going to
Right.
take another month to find out that, oh, there's a moldy piece of cheese there, or you had leftovers that you didn't know, or I have to throw out this milk carton. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so I would say a cleansing of your refrigerator every 3 months is a good rule of thumb. Same thing with your freezer. And just looking at your counter space, your countertop, and seeing what's there, and having your appliances that you frequently use in order, things like that. So the strategy is really, number one, preparing your kitchen and optimizing the space so you can make it easier for yourself. Because if it's not efficient, if it's not organized, you're going to be less apt to want to cook more in the kitchen. It's kind of like your desk, in your office. If it's not organized and efficient, it's going to be harder for you to do that paperwork that you're
Right.
probably putting off, right? So it's the same concept. And then and then that ties into, once you have that, then you move to the supermarket. And just really briefly, I actually created a course on how to get started on a whole food plant-based lifestyle. And
Mhm.
one of the lessons is really about understanding how a supermarket works. And honestly, your best bet is to just stop and live at the produce section, just
That's
to
right.
be really brief, with it, because everything else is very, if you understand an anatomy, I'm going to use, medical lingo here. If you're going
Mhm.
to understand the anatomy of a supermarket, it's very strategically done. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And your best bet, your safest bet, to be honest, is to just hang out at the produce section, because real food doesn't have a nutrition label. Real
Right.
food is needs to be refrigerated. Real
Right.
food is perishable. things that are not in the produce section, or in the, perimeter of the supermarket lives on shelves. And how do they live on shelves? They're, living on shelves because of preservatives, because of chemicals, because of binders, because of all this junk, that we don't need in our bodies. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, definitely. And I think that one thing I've found for myself is when I find those good foods and I know that I should eat them, that sometimes like on a Sunday, like making a large batch of like whether it's a soup I want to do or some kind of or just cleaning and cutting and do all the things that tend to have the path of resistance for us during the week when we feel a little bit more, stressed for time or just a little bit less time in our hands. It seems like batching seems like a great at least I always feel like it just you've created your own convenience store in a way in your own fridge. Like you can package them up and just make it very easy to either just take a scoop or grab a little container and then go. So I don't know what you think about that.
yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, so it depends on, where you're at, you have to
Right.
ask yourself. So, when you're looking at the supermarket, it's not necessarily you have to shop at Whole Foods. That's not what we're trying to say. Like every supermarket, has their own unique features. So if
Mhm.
you have a very quote unquote, very large, medium-sized chain supermarket that, cost effective, a lot of the produce sections are doing trends where they already have vegetables already cut up, right?
Mhm.
So cooking is not the most time suck, it's the meal preparation,
Mhm.
and people don't want to be bothered with coming up with the recipes, knowing what kind of ingredients to do, and etc. So some supermarkets, you're going to have to research this on your own, is that next to the produce section, there's a section where vegetables or fruits are already cut up. Now
Mhm.
you are paying for the labor, of
Mhm.
that. You're paying for the packaging, right?
Mhm.
But it saves us time, and time is our most precious commodity.
Right.
Not money. It's actually time because we can't
Right.
get it back. Right.
Right.
So if you value your time, then go and get stuff that's already prepped, right? And get that, and you can just throw things together. Sometimes they'll have a theme. They'll be like, okay, this is a barbecue theme, and so it'll have potatoes and peppers and mushrooms, and maybe this is a grill theme, or maybe this is a stir fry theme, so things that are already thought of ahead of time for you, right?
Right.
Another thing too is if you don't do the produce aisle, you can also visit the frozen food section. And the
Mhm.
frozen food section is also really good because especially the frozen vegetables and fruit,
Mhm.
those are picked at peak of season and
Yeah.
peak of ripeness. And guess what? They're flash frozen, right? And they're already in your freezer, and those are more endurable in terms of time. They won't
Yeah.
perish that quickly as fresh produce. And so you can grab, what I'm saying, if you need to, then get things that are canned and jarred and things like that. Because we're in a pandemic, I understand that people want to less frequent the supermarket for
Mhm.
obvious reasons. So those are my strategies, for that. And then in terms of the kitchen, if you're not that well versed in the kitchen, then I would say go on YouTube, go on your favorite meal magazine website, and get a few recipes, follow along with them, what I'm
Mhm.
saying, and get the ingredients ahead of time so you can follow along. And this is where help comes into play. If you have a spouse or if you have a family, get them to cook with you. Guess what?
Mhm.
You're cooking a meal together. You're
Yeah.
increasing relationships. You're increasing rapport, and that's precious time.
Right.
So,
Those are great. Those are great examples. Those and that reminds me of the value and importance of being aware of you and your own tendencies and just have an awareness of like instead of just I can't do this or thinking less of yourself because you're not achieving it is really just pause whenever you have a sense of feeling of resistance and try to identify what that is. And is it you realize, oh, I just don't like cleaning and cutting those things up, or oh, I
right,
don't, I don't like, dealing with the vegetables getting bad really fast in my fridge. Well, then go get stuff out of the freezer aisle. And I agree. I think sometimes if you have a variety of things, some things in the freezer, maybe some things in the can, depending on a pandemic or something like that,
Yeah.
um, or just certain items that are hard to find anywhere else. And then have maybe some fresh stuff when you're able to get to the grocery store or a farmer's market or something nearby to support your local areas. Those are, I think, valuable to just, if you just pay attention to why is it you are resisting the change, then you can find the solutions. And if money is not the problem and it is time, then pay the little extra money for the convenience,
Right.
that's already out there. People have already thought of this before you, that
Yeah.
people are not wanting to, deal with, maybe cutting themselves, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, Colin, like from a community standpoint, I was talking about farmers markets and other ways, and you were talking about medical students or medical school and not getting the kind of training. I know you do a lot of work and reaching out and trying to help people, just take a different look at their diet or lifestyle and cooking. Are there some things you feel like, or just share with us the things you've done to reach out the community?
Yeah. So before I answer that question, just to kind of, there's a lot of great meal delivery services now.
Mm,
There's a lot of great food delivery services now that, I don't remember the companies and I have no affiliation with them, but there's where you could purchase like recipe packages, like food
mhm.
packages ahead of time, and you can actually follow along with them. So
Yeah,
there's so many great, companies out there that can meet a customer wherever they're at
yeah,
this point, you know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
that's just one thing. So things I've done in the community in the past. So before the pandemic, I was hired to consult with John Hopkins preventive medicine residency group, and they have a great program where their preventive medicine residency, what they do is that they hold weekly community classes where they teach them nutritional tips, wellness classes, things like that to the neighborhood of Baltimore. And so I was asked to kind of lead a series of, kind of like culinary food as medicine workshops. And,
Mm,
we were talking off camera, and I wanted to share this clip, if it's okay to
yeah,
share,
go ahead.
and show you just an application of culinary medicine. So just let me do that real quick.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
So presentation is all about, execution. So here we want to get as many colors as possible.
Makes
Right?
sense.
So when you're presenting it to someone, whether it's like a catering event or like a family dinner or something like that, you want to be able to, have it more in the middle. So how many doctors does it
Less,
take
I
to
know.
work
They're sticking
So tell us who those people were.
So yeah, I need to do a better job in orienting the clip. So
Oh, no, it's
basically,
okay.
those are preventive medicine residents,
Okay.
out of the John Hopkins group, and those are the people that I was teaching, and then we had some of their residents that had kids, and they came along, and we included them in the classes, and so these guys would take that skill set and be able to teach and incorporate and enhance their community classes for when they give these types of classes to the community. And so that was the whole purpose of it. And, that's one of my biggest drivers is when I teach this, that I can hope to pass down skills so they can teach others. So thereby creating a ripple effect. So that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's that's just an application of it. So
Yeah. So you're kind of passing the torch so other people can pass that
yep,
along.
yep.
Yeah, that's great. Now with as far as I know that you have some other work you're doing that I want to make sure everyone was able to hear about, that's coming up. You've been putting a lot of pouring your heart and soul into over the last several months back. Do you mind sharing some of the things you're doing to try to help, just general public or clinicians?
Yeah, definitely. So right now we are focusing on launching a virtual summit. It is going to launch on the 5th of May of this year in 2021. And basically, it's an evolution of everything that I've been doing. And so the summit is called the Thrive Formula. Thrive is spelled THR number 5. And it's based off of 5 pillars: food as medicine, reestablishing cooking as a lifestyle using a whole foods plant-based approach, and functional movement, functional fitness, the concepts of relationships, so learning about thyself, learning about how that applies to interpersonal relationships, community. So what we mean by that is, how do we be of service? How do we lead by example? How do we grow a network or tribe, like this wonderful podcast is doing? And what is our environmental footprint? And then the 5th pillar is resilience, developing that skill set of emotional and mental fortitude. And we have, 52 speakers lined up, and, half of them are physicians. And we are, trying to get it accredited as well. So there'll be CME available as well. And, we have coaches there, dietitians, very passionate people that love what they do. And it's really, the whole point of it is, we've been through a lot in this past year. I said to myself, what am I going to do to continue to impact and inspire people beyond our 4 walls of counseling patients? And so this is what I came up with. And it's been a huge learning lesson. And we're very, very excited for, when it launches in May. And, I definitely, excited to share with your audience as well. If you guys are interested, I will share with Dr. Melissa a link, and also, a discount code, so you guys could see what it's all about and if it resonates with you. And it's not a live event. It's a event that's going to be evergreen. So when you buy into it, you'll have lifetime access to it. So
That's awesome. That's wonderful work. No, I think I'm excited for you. I'm looking forward to checking it out myself. Any last minute kind of just for that busy physician? Obviously, you're providing a lot of resources coming out here in May. But anything, even from you yourself, trying to figure out how to create that healthier lifestyle and have, just whether it's a mindset, an attitude, or a specific thing. Is there any last minute little thought you'd like to share with physicians about, either getting finally into a healthier lifestyle or maintaining it?
Number one, definitely. And, I could sit here and advocate the best diet on the planet and tell you to move more and things like that. But in all honesty, it's really coming down to the mindset. And I think the pandemic, if I may, the
Yeah.
pandemic, it is a very, tragic thing. And I'm very, I'm more of a very silver linings type of person. And so
Mhm.
I believe that the pandemic is more of a messenger, that kind of uncovered a lot of stuff, like back when we're, I'm an early 80s baby. So like, I played with dirt and rocks and ants. And so, it's kind of like the pandemic is like lifting up a big slab of rock and realizing that, oh my God, there's a bunch of critters and earthworms and a lot of stuff underneath. So
Yeah.
so the pandemic is kind of like, it uncovered a lot of cracks in our healthcare system, in ourselves, and uncovering a lot of stuff, baggage, that kind of came up
Yeah.
to the surface, and I'm sure everyone knows.
Yeah.
But it's really the mindset, prioritizing your self-care, thinking about yourself. Physicians, we do a lot. And with the pandemic, we do even more stuff, what I'm saying? So it's super important to take care of yourself, meditate, yoga, move, make sure you hydrate, make sure you have time for yourself, make sure you have time to do your hobbies and passions. Have time to reflect on what's important in your life, prioritize what's the most important. Everyone's going to be different, what I'm saying? And, I know it's a cliche, but life is short. But the pandemic also taught me that life is also fragile. So,
Mhm.
it's important to reprioritize what is, what's essential, what's vital in your life. Is it your family? Is it your health? Is it, whatever that is for you? And so that mindset is super important. And so, we have the tools here, we have each other, we have, physicians are, have been much more united, especially in the social media space. Podcasting has helped unite us, what I'm saying? So it's super important. And, I want to be able to provide as much value and tools and education, inspiration as much as possible. So, so yeah, just, if this resonates, drop me a line, email me, things like that. And definitely keep following, Dr. Melissa and Dr. Kevin's,
Yeah.
good stuff. They have a lot of great guests. So
Well, thank you for that. Well, for anyone trying to follow you, I know chefdoczoo.com, that still is the primary one, correct?
yeah, as a primary one, the summit is a separate
Okay.
website. It's the Thrive formula, so
Right.
THR5 formula .co, not
Okay.
com.co. And I can drop that link for
Yeah.
Dr. Melissa, and
Yeah.
definitely offer that discount if it resonates. So
Yeah. I'll put it in the notes. And I think what you ended with was a good, vision of kind of what we've been through this last year, and a good perspective to take. So thank you again for that, and for your returning episode and talking about some nutritional strategies for anyone, including physicians, who definitely need to, because of our background and our training has been lacking in so many ways, for us to heed your advice, and be a little bit aware of our needs and maybe our tendencies, and hopefully take on better strategies. So thank you again. And for those of you listening, I am Melissa Cady, the Challenge Doctor, and my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, is not here today, but he'll be back on another interview. And want to thank Dr. Colin Zhu for joining us. And we'll look forward to seeing all of you out there on the next episode.
thanks, guys.